Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Leading Edge Cricket Podcast. It's Rob and Rich. We're back on the pod, and we're taking a look at West Indies, England on a flat deck. Which it's how flat does flat have to be?
Get the pancakes ready for brekkie, mate. Yeah, it's flat. Come on, cricket gods. Just give us a track. Give us some spice. Give us some juice. It's all in the rum at the moment, isn't it? The old spice rum. The fans seem to be having a great time. Everybody's having a good time. People are batting well. Lots of hundreds, lots of runs. But no one wants a result. I think that's a big question to ask as we get deeper into this podcast, Rob. Does anybody want to win a game of cricket?
That is a great question, and it's something England have probably struggled with now for about 18 months, asking that question. If they look deep down, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to win a game of cricket? No, we've left 11,000 wickets, 1,100 wickets back in the UK, mate.
That's all right, a lot of wickets.
Things exaggerate with time, mate. It's 15,000 by the time next week rolls around and we're 1-0 down.
Yeah, it could well be. So we're not allowed to mention the Broad and Anderson, are we? Oh, I've just mentioned the Broad and Anderson.
The Broad and Anderson. There's shambolic, absolute shambolic. And I did see that Jimmy had sent a tweet. I think it was a tweet, or I saw an article on BBC saying he's made peace with being dropped a couple of weeks ago. But that's probably a month of not being at peace. And then he's finally gone, right, I'm ready to move on. Give me a bit of Lancashire.
Yeah, I think that's fair, isn't it? I think both of them are just looking forward to the county season, and they're taking what you'd hope would have been the right view of players of such experience, such quality, such competitors, is that they're basically both going, right, county season. There's going to be some openers start of this year against the likes of Broad and Anderson that are going to be wishing that they had picked another career. Because those boys are going to be steaming in trying to take some schools, aren't they? So, yeah, I bring it on. Interesting for this one, if we get into it, the bowling, as we're talking about it, Mark Wood has gone the way of Jofra Archer. Elbow injury, isn't he? He's out of the series. He was out of this game, obviously. He's out of the series and he's out of the IPL. Huge disappointment. Ollie Robinson wasn't fit yet, but as we get ahead a little bit, he is fit for the third test coming up this week. Overton missed out with illness, didn't he? Yes. Is that right? Was it illness? So it meant Saqib Mahmood finally get in. He made his debut. Matt Fisher, the big man from Yorkshire, also made his debut. He didn't take long to make his mark either. So we're going to be talking about those two boys as part of that bowling unit. But yeah, it's a lot of right arm over, Rob. That's what we do need to talk about again. A lot of right
arm over and a lot of left arm spin going on. That is it. That's all that's allowed to play in 5 days.
That's the lot. But I'm looking forward to just breaking down Saqib Mahmood a little bit because he is offering something a little bit different. And there have been many reasons why we wanted this man in the England setup for a number of years. And I hope that he has solidified his spot at least for the third test. And then we'll see beyond that. Do you want to get into the game then, Rob? Should we get into what's been going on?
Let's start off with what I'd call a flourishing England top six, mate. We are nosebleed seats at the moment. We've seen hundreds from Johnny Bairstow. We've seen hundreds from Zach Crawley. We've seen hundreds from Joe Root time and time again. But we come into this test match, Rich. We clock up 507 for 9 declared. That's like a legitimate batting unit going out and going, right, we can't lose this test. We're going to bat you out of the game. And there's only 2 results on the table.
If you'd have said England had got a 509 in this test match and I hadn't seen it, I'd have said, over the 2 innings. That would have been my response usually. But this batting card is actually stepping up, isn't it? We do need to talk about Alex Lees at one point. And I would suggest that Alex Lees is the only man in the top 6, maybe top 7, that hasn't got himself up and running yet. He's had a lot of starts, hasn't he? He's had a 20-odd and whatever in this series, in this game as well. But it was so good to see, wasn't it, that after the first 2 did go relatively, Crawley gone for none, Alex Lees 30, Joe Root 153, Ben Stokes 120, Dan Lawrence 91. Whew. I mean, this doesn't happen very often anymore. I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you know the last time when we got 500? Because I haven't done my research, and I don't either.
Actually don't. If I was to think real hard, I'd probably say they may have done it against Sri Lanka in Sri Lanka, but that may have just been 350 and got exaggerated in time like Anderson and Broad's wickets.
It felt like 500, 350.
Yeah, it did.
But yeah, it's been good.
It's such a great knock, mate. Yeah. Zach Crawley. I'm going to start off with Crawley and then we'll touch on Lees. Crawley scored 40 in the second innings, mate.
Yep.
0 in the first innings. I know it's only one test match, and I'm always telling people to simmer down. It's just a test match. But can I ask a question going, I know it's a test match where he's failed and he scored 100 last test match, but are we still 100% certain he should be an opener? I'm putting it out there because he's done well, but before he'd done well, I was looking at him going, shouldn't be opening the batting.
It's going to be a tough one, isn't it, with Crawley? Crawley's there. I think they like the idea of him as an opener, but I'm not sure in the long run that's where he will end up. It doesn't quite sit right with me as well. But then it is that who would you play instead? Maybe you can swap Crawley and Lees. That might work. I don't know. I don't know is the answer. I think after 121 in the first game, let's see what he does in the third game. He's settling in. He's still a young fella, isn't he? He's been playing at number 3 most of the time he's been with England. He's settling into this opener role after being given it at the back end of the summer. So let's see where he is come the end of this series. I mean, there's a lot of question marks after this series. It's very much an in isolation, isn't it? Paul Collingwood coming out saying he'd like the job full time. Sure you would, Paul. There's a lot of people would like a lot of things. But I don't know.
Does anybody here want to get paid 6 figures a year, possibly 7? Yeah, I'll take it. Go
on. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Tour in the world. He'll be fine. So we don't know. I think that's the big thing, isn't it, with this batting unit? Everybody has made a score. Dan Lawrence, it was so pleasing to see that he's improved as this series has gone on over the 2 games. With the ball as well, he's offering a little bit of something, isn't he? As you just said beforehand, he's up in the batting bowlers stakes. He's now better than Joe Root, basically.
I think he is. He's trusted. So, yeah. But I think he gives a little bit of hope to anyone that's bowling off spin that you've got a chance, mate. It doesn't matter what your action's like. Just go for it.
The twirlier, the better, basically. That's what we're asking.
there is arms and legs going everywhere. He did bat really, really well. It was the end of the day 1. Him and Root were batting. They were superb the whole time. And it might have been the final over of the day or near the final over of the day. And he just started getting a bit loose. And, hindsight, looking back, you're thinking, is he thinking about 3 figures a little bit too much before the end of the day? Hit one straight at cover, kind of threw away what was a pretty special innings. And I just like the way he goes about his business, mate. It's no nonsense. He backs himself. He scores runs. He knows where he scores runs. And he doesn't try and be something he's not. He's not the sort of batsman that's probably just going to, I'm going to nurdle and nudge and I'm going to nick off. He's like, if I'm getting out, I'm getting caught at cover, smacking it. I like that.
Yeah, no, and that's how we need that, though. We need that in this England. We're starting again, aren't we? I don't want it to be we're starting again to build up to the Ashes nonsense. Let's forget that for good. I only wish we could. I don't think the selectors or coaches will be working that way. It's a constant obsession with Ashes. But it's so good to see these players starting to take some opportunity. Yes, it's been a relatively, it's been a flipping easy batting shot. It's been a road, hasn't it? They've put the car park onto the middle of the track on both of these surfaces. And it's easy for the batters. But you've still got to face up the Jaden Searles, Kamal Roaches of this world. They've still got to put the bat down in a straight line and hit the ball and start scoring runs. So people are doing it. So it's really, really good to see. Yes, there's question marks at the top of the order. I don't think it's necessarily question marks of selection. It's just question marks over, will they be the guys going forward in the short term? Yes, they probably will be. Will they be in the long term? That's another question. They need to score runs. Alex Lees needs to score runs. We like him. He looks solid. He looks like a player. He looks like a player that could play at this top level. He's very in order. It's really refreshing to see an opener that doesn't have a load of quirks and idiosyncrasies or whatever you say. He just looks tidy. He looks like a good test match opener. He just needs to remember he can score runs and he will score runs, I'm sure.
Yeah. He did look better, and he's looked better the more time that he's spent at the crease. Like he is giving Dom Sibley a run for his money in terms of just occupation of crease, and I'm going into strike mode. I'm putting up a tent, and no one's going to remove me. He's got a little bit of that about him, and then he also in this Test match got out twice to left arm spin. So I went digging into my archives, and between 2016 and 2021, he only got dismissed by left arm spin 4 times in first-class cricket. He's got an average of over 50 against spin in that time. So it doesn't appear that spin's an issue. However, 80+% of the deliveries he's facing in county cricket is on green seamers. That's a wrong assumption, but on difficult batting wickets compared to this, and also generally against seam bowlers, and there's not many good spin bowlers kicking around the county circuit or spinners that are backed on the county circuit to go and attack. So it doesn't appear he's got a problem with it, but likewise, when you're playing Test cricket, anything is going to be accentuated. So if you do struggle with something, Kemar Roach bowling around the wicket, it seemed like he did a lot better with that in this Test match. It's a lot of tweaks because you're facing things for the first time. You're facing this quality and this intensity for the first time. So I'd stick with him. The same I'd stick with Crawley. Crawley's in a position to me, and I've just gone, should he still open? Crawley's in a position to me where he's got the summer because he's shown he can score runs in odds, showed a bit of grapefruits. He's gone and batted well here, scored 100. Just here's your time, mate. You've got a year. It's your slot. Make it your own. Lees is in the same position where I'm like, cool, we'll give you West Indies. We'll give you the first series in the next one, and we'll see how we go. And unless something's majorly wrong, then we need to rein it back. But if I see a player that scores a lot of 30s and his fails become 30s, I don't want to see us pull the plug on someone whose fails are 30s and we can grow him into being something better, like we've done in the past with a Joe Denley or Michael Carberry, who I think out of English openers since the year 2000 had the most 30-plus scores in percentage of per innings, but got dropped because he didn't score enough runs. So it's give him chance, give him time, settle in, get a score. And he's the sort of guy, he played difficult cricket. He played at Yorkshire and he's played at Durham. They're not easy batting places to go and play. So I probably should have seen him score better than a 21 strike rate off 138 balls, to be honest. So get rid of him.
I've got a lot of patience. The only question mark really with this England setup is there is all question marks because we don't know who the coach is going to be and we don't know how the selector setup is going to be. So it all depends on that. It could be that a coach and a selector or a selector setup, however it's organised under Andrew Strauss at the moment, it could come in and they say, actually, no, I don't fancy him at all. Give him a test match or so, and then we're moving on. That shouldn't be the case. Obviously, there should be a bit of longevity, a bit of thinking long term, but that's not the case at the moment because the people that are thinking at the moment aren't involved in the future, more than likely. Could be, don't know. So I would say that Crawley most definitely has got the summer. I would say that Lees should have the summer. But that's the question mark. Until we know what this setup is going to be and who's going to be making those decisions, everything is on the table. But let's not be negative. I don't think we are, but let's be positive. 500 plus, Rob, in the first innings. Yeah. Most people making a score. Joe Root is just imperious. He's continuing his 2021 just ridiculous form, taking it into this year. Is he the best batsman in the world at the moment?
Yeah, 100%.
Simple question.
It's not in question. Yes, he may be behind Marnus on the rankings. Marnus, since he got to world number one, averages 25 in the last few tests and has got 2 ducks. So regress to the meme. Regress to the meme. I'm making it a meme.
Which
there
one?
We go.
Spider-Man.
Joe Root, 12 scores of 150 plus in test match cricket now, Rich.
Nice.
The most of an Englishman and the 9th most since the 1st of January 2020. Above Alistair Cook, above Kevin Peterson, who we both hold in such high regard as a cricketer and as a person on this podcast.
Not true.
I will deny all information. Some of us do. But interestingly enough, when I was looking at the stats and going, 12, wow, that is so many 150 scores. Kumar Sangakkara scored 19 150 scores in the time he played since the 1st of January. And also Kumar Sangakkara, quietly, I know this isn't the Kumar Sangakkara appreciation podcast, but it probably should be, also quietly went about his business, scored all these runs, got to 8,000 test match runs faster than anyone else in the history of the game. And people still on Twitter try and tell me that Virat Kohli is the best player that's ever graced the game.
You've gone there.
I've gone here. But, right, top 10 list, there is no Virat Kohli on the list. Verinder Sehwag gets in at 5th place. Dravid in 4th. Sobers in 3rd. Tendulkar in 2nd. Sangakkara 152 innings to get to 8,000 test match runs.
That is a conversation for another day, but I always find in cricket conversations over the greatest, there's always a asterisk next to Sri Lankan players, and who they've played and what services have played. And it's like Murali. We obviously Shane Warne we call the best spinner ever, but Murali might have had an argument about that. Maybe he probably agrees because he's that. I'm sure he's that sort of guy. But he did all right. He got a few wickets.
Yep. Yeah,
he got a few. Sorry, go on.
He definitely did, and he's world class. But all you can do is score runs against who's put in front of you.
But when take wickets,
you look at Sangakkara, he averaged 43 against Australia. Let's go by country. He averaged 60 on Australia, 80 in Bangladesh, 40 in England, 36. I've gone 36 in India, 61 Sangakkara podcast, 61 in New Zealand, 86 in Pakistan, 35 in South Africa, 60 in Sri Lanka, 62 in UAE, 34 in West Indies, 140 in Zimbabwe, an overall career record averaging 57.40 with 1,200 runs. Better than Kohli.
Brilliant.
No one's even picking a fight with me, and I'm just picking one.
Someone put 50p in, Rob, then. So we're saying Joe Root is currently the best batsman in the world via Kumar Sangakkara. Love it. Absolutely love it. That's absolutely locked in. Dan Lawrence, I just want to add, I'm just going to quickly keep talking just in case you carry on about Kumar Sangakkara. Dan Lawrence, that was his top score in Test cricket so far. He's got 4 half centuries. He's into the twilight zone of England batsmen where he's averaging about 32. That seems to be the sweet spot. So if he's on the up from there, Dan Lawrence is going to have a very, very good career with England. So in 10 Test matches, 543 runs, 91 high score, 31.94. So on and up, please, Dan Lawrence. We don't need those 32s, too many of them. Next one, I just want to quickly get in as well. Ben Stokes. Ben Stokes, it's so pleasing to see Ben Stokes back to form. My concern with him is always don't bowl him too much. He's made of, sticky tape and whatever. Just be careful with him. Just be very, very careful. But he scored himself 120. He's taking wickets again. He's bowling spells as well, isn't he? And it should be said as well, he's gone over 5,000 Test runs to go along with his 172 wickets. He's very, very quickly getting into the best all-rounders that England have ever had conversation. I think he probably, Ian Botham again would probably argue. But we used to be, Flintoff, we loved Flintoff. He was so much fun. But when you look at Flintoff's stats, they're very ordinary overall, aren't they? Stokes is the real deal. It took me a while to warm up to him in some respects. I just thought he was being forced in there. But it's so good when the selectors do get it right, when they do get a player in and they sustain and they just go, no, keep him going. And he's just absolutely top drawer. He is pants and socks to us, Rob. Top drawer, isn't he?
If
anyone doesn't keep your pants and socks in the top drawer, they're in the wrong drawer.
You're just doing it wrong, mate. You're doing life wrong. He's brilliant. He's been brilliant for a long time. It's been hard watching him struggle in Australia with injuries and everything that's kind of gone on before. But it's almost like have a few weeks off, mate, from being injured, and he's come back a different man. He's bowling 5k an hour quicker. He just looks a different player. And what I really liked about this innings was I've seen Stokes in Australia be out of touch of batting, and he looks like he's got all the time in the world because he does. He's got a lot of time when he plays. It's an element of class about his game. But his aggressive approach has been missing. He's always been looking to just contribute time and effort and just be at the crease as long as possible. Whereas here, we've seen a little bit of a flip. And this is either him going, you know what, I'm feeling pretty good about my batting and I'm hitting the ball really well. Or we're looking match situation, and for the first time in 18 months, he's come into the crease at 3 for 244, and it's a completely different contest to what he's been used to the last 18 months.
Yeah, it's the move, Joe Root up there. I mean, the openers are solidifying. Obviously, we've had a nice score from Zach Crawley. Lees is occupying at least. He's doing a bit of a job at the moment, isn't he? We can't underestimate that. Yeah. And it's so good that Joe Root's gone to 3, and it just begs that question, which we're not going to go into now, but it begs that question, why wasn't this something they considered before? We've had so many problems with that top two, the openers, otherwise known as, that it made so much sense for him to go up there just to plug that gap, because it was the old square peg in a round hole, wasn't it, at number 3 for too many times with players coming in. No disrespect to Dawid Malan, but he got that job because we just needed someone to bat 3, and he could do it. Not necessarily because he should have been in the England team. He was. I mean, I think last summer he played one was it one first-class game he played and he got 100 and then that was it? Pretty much let's get him in the test team.
Yeah, but number one T20 player in the world, mate. Like, got to get him in. Got to fit him in somewhere. Where's he going to bat?
Ed Smith is back in charge. If you've done well in T20, you're playing for the England test side. Yeah, so I'm just stoked with this. Hey, you see what I did? I'm stoked with this batting lineup for England at the moment. They're doing really well. Yes, it's on a surface that is very helpful to batsmen, but they've still got to go and score runs. You can still nick off on a straight one. It's simple as that. We've all done that. It's not moved. It didn't do a thing. It was crap. I got out to it, but we're still sat here moaning. So England looking really good, didn't they? Batting wise in the second innings, we don't really need to go into just yet, but it was basically they were trying to kick on a little bit quicker to try and set up a declaration. But let's have a talk about West Indies for a little bit as well, because I think we're kind of overlooking them a little bit. They've been batting exceptionally well in this series as well. 411 in the first innings to go alongside a couple of pretty good scores. And both games, it got to a point where it was West Indies to win, wasn't it? They were given a target of 286 in the first innings, which they didn't really go for. And obviously in the second innings, they needed 282. Joe Root has said that he probably could have been a bit braver in his declaration just to make a bit more of a game of it. But I don't want to go down that route. Oh my God, I've said Stokes and Root. Didn't mean to do this, sorry. Gone down this route. I don't think they could have done much more, to be fair, West Indies. I think it's a tough situation for them to be put in. But they are getting players standing up. Nkrumah Bonner has done really well in the first test. Obviously, got himself 100 and got himself a man of the match. Kraigg Braithwaite, the captain, has been exceptional in this series so far. I suppose I'm going to hand it off to you for a minute. First off, Kraigg Braithwaite, but anything else you want to pick out of this West Indies batting lineup first, then we'll look at both teams bowling.
Incredible, mate. Actually incredible. His fortitude and mental concentration. I don't care that the pitch didn't get worse over 5 days. I want to see more appreciation because we've lived in a world where the bowler dominant pitches everywhere in the world for so long, and the test match finishes in 2.5 days, and we go, well, this isn't right. And then you see a pitch that's more like 2002, and it's like, 5-day cricket. It's a bit boring. Yeah. And I don't like that. I think it should be varied conditions. Some days it will favour the bowler. Some days it will favour the batter. And here, sure, the ball wasn't doing a lot, especially if you're Matthew Fisher, who did the least with the ball in the whole game, but we'll touch on him in a second. Braithwaite batted time, and he didn't look in trouble. 710 minutes his knock in that first innings.
Sonic, isn't it, that?
I've gone to work, gone home and had a kip by the time he's finished batting, and he's still going. Absolute Duracell levels of energy. But Jared Kimber did a really good video on him, which kind of talked about his upbringing. And in a situation and in a world where people were trying to smash the ball, he would just constantly bat time from a kid and, building this up from like age 13 all the way to going into first class cricket and just bat time. Just keep batting. Just keep batting. And amazingly, he's gone into test cricket and he's just doing exactly the same. He's now 29 years old. He's now averaging 34, which is above average for a test cricketer in the modern day. Gone are the days of averaging 40. 40 is world-class sub. And he's got 10 centuries to his name. And he's just getting better and better the more time he plays cricket. And we almost saw a little bit of a different Braithwaite in the last test where he went and scored a really fast 50. And everyone's like, oh, well, this is different. But he's just I don't know the right term for it. I wanted to say the excellence in execution of the art of batting over a long period of time, and it just felt a bit too WWE for me to throw it out there. But I've done it anyway. And in the second innings, he did the same. He ended up chalking up 673 balls, 216 runs, a strike rate of 32, the 13th highest a man of balls ever faced in a test match ever. You going back to BC and looking at this. And it's just people don't do this and do it to his degree. The names on this list that you look at that's just above him, Gary Kirsten, one, Stephen Fleming, not number one, but one person ahead of him, Stephen Fleming and Mark Taylor and Jeffrey Boycott. They're like the closest over the last 40 years, and everything before that, you're kind of going back further. So it's an incredible achievement, regardless of the pitch situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing I don't like either. Sorry. One thing I don't like, and English are very, very bad for this. Maybe every country is. We just care about English cricket more. Is we score 500 on an absolute road, and then just berate our bowlers for being useless when the other team's batting on a road the pitch hasn't diminished in any way, shape, or form.
It's a fair shout. It really is when you're looking at this game, isn't it? It's like, oh, our bowlers didn't get much out of it. Well, West Indies bowlers didn't get much out of it either, did they? Yeah. We got 507 for 9 declared. They were all out for 411. So who did better?
Yeah, we declared twice on them.
Yes, that's not gonna cut it. That's not gonna follow the correct argument. Yeah, I mean, Kraigg Braithwaite is leading by example, isn't he? He's doing absolutely everything he possibly can. And this West Indies team has a lot about it. And it's putting up a stiff competition. We know that they've got a really good record. They've got confidence against England in West Indies. They'll be hoping that they can just kick on a little bit with the bat, because that's twice they've been put in a situation where they could chase, but they probably made the right decision both times. It was just not quite there for them to go after that score. If England, we've seen it in the last few years, haven't we, with England, when they get put in these similar situations. I've been critical of England for not going for it, but it seems to be more of the norm at the moment that you're not going to just go absolutely mental. I just don't understand in these chases why you don't, like, for the first half hour, first 10 overs, first hour, whatever, go for it. And if you start losing a couple of wickets, bang, handbrake comes on, shop shut, blockathon. So I would always like to just see an initial intent rather than the let's see where we are after an hour. Oh, you've got 20 runs for no wicket. Well done. That's how it suddenly feels.
Yeah, with that, it's kind of like Kane Williamson did that really good declaration against England, and England didn't go for it. Sibley batted for 4 sessions and scored 50. Like, what did we learn from that? Sibley was dropped before the Ashes.
Yeah, well, that really rattled me, because that genuinely felt like, come on, Dom, this is for you. Yeah. Just bat time, mate. We're going to keep you in the side. If we'd have been sensible, he'd have, gone for it. Well, I'm not going to go down that route again. Sorry, I'm not going backwards. But yeah, but this West Indies team, I'm really impressed by them. They're playing in the same conditions as we are, and they're very, very close. I don't think there's much between these two teams at all. 102 as well for Jermaine Blackwood. That was a pretty good knock as well, wasn't it? Fluid. Nearly a run every couple of balls, 50 strike rate, give or take, for him as well. So a really, really decent batting attack for West Indies. Second innings, a bit like the first game, you can't really look at runs scored. It's more about who's occupied the crease. And Blackwood and Kraigg Braithwaite were the ones that occupied the vast majority of deliveries as well, wasn't it? Joshua De Silva had a little cameo at the end.
I've quite enjoyed watching Joshua De Silva go about his business, mate. I've enjoyed his keeping. I think he's pretty neat behind the stumps. I enjoy his YouTube channel. And... give us a call, mate. And I've enjoyed his batting. I like his approach to batting. He scores well. He scores a lot of runs. He apparently played down in Wimbledon and scored an absolute stack load of runs when he was about 18 years old. He just, no nonsense, picks up the short ball well, drives well, plays spin well. He looks a good cricketer.
Yeah, he does. It's nice to say. West Indies, you're never quite sure what you're going to get. There's been so much turmoil over there in recent years, hasn't there, with players, and we've lost that sort of that superstar generation. Have pretty much all moved on. There's been 1 or 2 players that are potential superstars who aren't around at the moment, the Hetmeyers of this world, etc. So it is really, really good to see that this team, not the most. I don't know what the right word is, but I don't want to say not the most exciting teams, but they're not the ones you would expect. You've got lads coming in who are getting on towards the end of the 20s or into the 30s. Yeah. The Bonners of this world that are starting to take an opportunity that they've probably thought wasn't coming their way again. So they're just giving it everything. And I just pray that there's going to be a track in this third test coming up that will offer a little bit more, because both of these teams deserve the opportunity to go and try and win a game of cricket. Yeah. Don't know who will. And it would be interesting to see if they do want, because at the moment, I'm a little bit unsure whether, like I said at the top, whether or not these teams actually want to go and win a game, or if they're quite happy to draw. A track in that third test will tell us if that,
it needs a result pitch for the third test. It definitely does. It's built into it. And I think this is one of the things that's pretty special about test match cricket, is if you're playing series cricket, I want to win the series. Then sometimes you've just got to take it on the chin and go, you know what? We'll get out of this with a draw and we'll go on to the next one. We'll get out of this with a draw and we'll go on to the next one. The way the West Indies beat England isn't by scoring 400. It's by cleaning them up for 100.
Yeah.
And there needs to be a pitch that's seamer friendly for this very talented West Indies unit to go and do some damage against England. And it's got to be the third test that they bring that to the party, because All they've shown so far, and it's not a negative, is that they can hang with England, which, is good, I think. England's 4th, 5th in the rankings, and West Indies are probably about 9th. So it's good for them that they're getting better. They're making themselves a team that's hard to beat at home, which is better than where they've been in the past. And it's just good to see. You always say the world's a better place when West Indies cricket's looking pretty good. And here it is looking pretty good. They've got batsmen with good technique that score runs and, have matured into decent players. And they've got quite an exciting, I think, a very exciting bowling attack.
Well brought on to, because I was just going to say, let's just quickly go through that West Indies bowling attack before we finish up talking about the England unit. West Indies bowling, I've been really impressed by, obviously, the Jaden Sales of this world. We know what we're going to get with Kamar Roach. Alzari Josephs, it was a little bit more difficult for him, maybe. He didn't offer quite the same control. But also Veerasammy Permaul as well has bowled very, very well for them with that left-arm spin, as you say. Jason Holder's in there as well. Who's really caught your eye in this West Indies attack? And the second part of that question is this attack good enough on a track that might offer a little bit of help in the third test? If it does, who's going to be the man to step up and bowl this England team out? Or can this bowling attack bowl this England team out?
Oh, yeah, it can. It definitely can. This bowling attack can do some damage. Just like, to be fair, the English bowling attack could do damage in different conditions on a different pitch as well. But I think Kemar Roach with the new ball's world class. Like one of the best right arm seam fast bowlers in world cricket. Jaden Seals is good. He swings the ball miles, but he's erratic with his control. But at the same time, on a pitch that's offering assistance and conditions, that is really, really dangerous. We saw him get Zach Crawley out, I think, in the first test, maybe. Bit of an inside edge from Crawley going hard at one because he was almost surprised that it was straight because he'd been a little bit erratic with his direction going on. I think the one that can cause England a lot of problems, mate, Jason Holder. Jason Holder's a brilliant test cricketer, top of off. He's tall. He nips it around both ways. It's heavy ball coming down. This team can blow England away. 100% if it's the right conditions, they can blow England away.
Yeah, I think so as well. That's what England. The big test is coming, isn't it? We really, really do hope that there's offering a little bit more because we need to see the likes of Alex Lees. We want to see them battle tested, don't we? At the moment they've gone through, they've done the business. This England batting card has. Everyone's got a score apart from, as we said, Alex Lees, but it's not critical. It was just we're just waiting. But we just want to see it on something that's a little bit trickier, a bit more zip, a bit more pace, just a bit more everything. Leave a bit of grass on, lads. That's what we're asking. England attack, as we said, Matt Fisher came in, made his debut. Didn't take him long at all to make an impact, did he? I think it was his second ball in Test cricket. Yeah, he got himself his first wicket, which ended up being his only wicket in this Test match. A little bit disappointing for him, but at least he's up and running and he's got an account open. Chris Woakes played again in this Test. He's not having the time of his life, is he? 1 for 88 and none for 22 in the first Test. 1 for 51 and none for 11 in the second. He did contribute with the bat because he is arguably the most attractive batsman in world cricket. Just is. Sorry, guys. Where does this England attack go? Saki Mahmood, we want to talk about in a second. I thought he was extremely impressive. But we've got to find something different in this attack. Yes, I know the two people we've left at home are right-arm overs, but there just doesn't seem to be that spark in this England bowling attack. And maybe I'm being critical, like you just said, about it's the track. But I'm not. I mean, Matt Fisher, it's early days, first test. I don't want to be too critical. Chris Woakes, though, I don't think Chris Woakes should be given the third test. And I say it quietly because I hate myself for saying it.
The only time he should go overseas, mate, is for a holiday.
I'm not against this idea. I'm not against it.
Not red ball cricket. And
New Zealand, maybe? Can he go to New Zealand?
Yeah, maybe. But I doubt it these days, mate. Like, I'm sure he's played. Yeah, he's played in New Zealand. 4 wickets at an average of 50, mate. He doesn't get.
So no, he stays at home. He's on the package holiday. He's on the beach, all inclusive for a fortnight. That's when Chris Woakes can go away. I think we're agreed.
It's got to be, mate. He's got 33 wickets at an average of 54 away from home now. That's only got slightly worse, and that's because he got the wicket of Kemar Roach, who was batting at number 9. It just. I don't know. I'm running out of conversation on Chris Woakes as an overseas bowler, and I think we all can see it. He just doesn't take wickets, which is awfully unfortunate for a bowler.
So let's spin it on the positive then. First of all, I'm going to ask you about Matt Fisher. I just want your reaction on it. Obviously, we saw about he's not doing much with the ball, but he was, I don't want to say insanely accurate, but he was very accurate and he was a threatening bowler. But after that, so a little bit on Matt Fisher, but then Saqib Mahmood, just your thoughts on him for this test match. A long overdue test debut for me, for Saqib.
Yeah. I think you've summed it up pretty nice, actually. I was just looking for the Crickviz tweet saying he moved the ball the least, but he was the most accurate in the test match.
Yeah.
And, from a first test match, that's not too bad. I was listening to Curtly Ambrose talk about it, and he said sometimes the best thing that can happen to a test bowler coming in is hard conditions to bowling and just the attrition of test match cricket. So then when there's a high, you're not overconfident and overstretching for wickets all the time. You're learning the art of bowling and tying people up. And he did 25 overs, 1 for 67, 2.68 economy rate. It's not bad. The thing is, every single seamer that's played in this game, if they went to under 3, they've done a job, because no one has been ultra successful as a seamer in this game. So it's a really hard position to kind of weight people on. All you've done is, from Matt Fisher, is seen his pace is okay. Not as quick as I thought he might be, but his pace is okay.
Yep.
He's accurate. The concern that I saw was with the new ball that he didn't really do a lot with it. And that probably tells you more about why haven't we got our new ball bowlers in the country that swing it.
No comment.
So I think there's a space for him, and he's not disgraced himself.
Yeah.
And, there's positives there. You can see he can play cricket, and he's done all right at this level on a difficult track.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. There's something to work with there, isn't it? I think it's when you start shuffling the deck and get the strongest players available, if we can put it politely like that. I think he finds himself dropping down the order, obviously, but he's got to work hard. He's got to come back. He's got to stay fit. He's another one of them England bowlers that is in the mould of Ollie Stone and Jofra Archer and others who just seem to have had injury problems.
Yeah.
So he needs to concentrate really now on having a really strong summer with Yorkshire, with county cricket, and go and show people that you should be in the England setup, not just there on potential and what we're seeing behind the scenes. So that's I think his job. But the next man I asked about, Saqib Mahmood, I think that this guy is ready now to be part of whatever England bowling attack comes through in the future, especially when we look at injuries to Mark Wood, Jofra Archer. Although it must be said, Jofra Archer is back with the England setup. He's not in the squad as such, but he has been out there training and netting and whatnot, hasn't he? So he's getting himself back to full fitness. So fingers crossed that he will be back by the time we're playing some Test cricket in the summer. But yeah, Saqib Mahmood, I keep asking it. So tell me, Rob. Tell me about him.
He was. I don't want to overstate it because it's one Test match, but from what amazing. I saw, he was very, very good. As particularly, I was impressed with his workload. He bowled 27 overs, a hard 27 overs. He's not Mark Wood quick. He's bowling 85 to 86 sort of mile an hour. Slippery. Can bring it back in with the older ball. Can get it reversing a little bit. Yep. But it was consistency and his ability to beat the bat. Just from hard work, you can see how much he's putting into it. I thought it was an impressive performance. 2 for 58. First wicket, and you'll like this, Jason Holder, where it gets a leading edge. Yeah, I'm glad you saw what I did there. So I was quite happy with that. And then there was an inside edge for the next wicket. But also 2 wickets in the second inning as well.
Yeah.
Him and Stokes may be the best 2 seamers on the pitch for 5 days, in my opinion. I think we've seen that if we can have a team where we can fit Mahmood in, but I'm not quite sure how you get all the pieces together to balance the team right to have quality opening bowlers and a traditional English first change bowler in the team as well.
I think Yeah, it's going to be a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, everything's up in the air for selection for this last game, and we'll finish on Jack Leach in a second. But it could go any way. I mean, I think there was potential talk. It might have been very, very small talk. It might have been rum induced talk. But there was a talk about how, if you potentially had two spinners. I don't see how you could do that when the two spinners both don't offer much with the bat. Sorry, Jack Leach. You might be the best night watchman ever to have played the game of cricket, but it would be difficult to get two spinners that could quite easily bat at 10 and 11. In a certain lineup. So it's going to be a tricky one, no matter what. But I just wonder if Sakib's done enough. I think he has. So I would lock him in. He'd be the first of the three seamers, not including Stokes, to play in this one. If Ollie Robinson is fit, I'd like to see Ollie Robinson take that number one spot off Chris Woakes. And then it's a bit of a toss-up. Do you give Matt Fisher a second test at this point? Or do you get Kraigg Overton back in, who obviously only missed out because of illness and who would have played in the second test over Matt Fisher? I think maybe Overton has deserved the opportunity. It's a difficult one, isn't it? When it's illness and injury, the reason you've missed a game, should you get yourself back in? Especially if someone's only took one wicket in a test match. I probably would say yes, Overton has done enough if they go with one spinner. If they don't, because they are relying on Stokes, then there maybe is a way you can go with Stokes. Folkes looks solid to me. He's not got himself a big score yet, but he does look solid. So you have got batting down to 7, haven't you, at the moment? Robinson comes in. He can bat it at maybe 8. It's a little bit high for him. 9, you can drop in. Maybe you could drop in Mahmood. It becomes a bit of a tale, but you know what? For once in a life, wouldn't it be great to see England just pick the best bowlers that they think can win a game rather than, well, does he offer a bit with a bat? No disrespect. Don Best. Can we just pick our best bowling attack that will go and win as a game of cricket? Because that's what we want. We're set up now. It's 0-0 going to the third test. There's no fourth test to, we'll draw this one and move it into the next one. It's the last test. Go and win it. Does this England team want to win a game of cricket, or are they quite happy to get back home 0-0? Well done. We didn't lose the series.
I don't know, mate. I don't know if they genuinely, like, if you wanted to win, you wouldn't have declared at lunch on day 5. You would have got to 250 lead and go, you know what?
That'll do.
We've got to give them something. 280 is not many teams have ever chased 280 in Test cricket. Like, it just doesn't happen very often. I'd love to know the percentile, but you might be like a 2-3% chance of winning. So it'd be very interesting to see if they want to change that mentality. But I think I said it before. I see Paul Collingwood as a hard to beat guy. Be hard to beat. Bat the guys into the ground and just mean you can't lose the game of cricket. So I think they'll take that approach. But I rolling the conversation back to the bowlers. Mahmood, very impressive on a docile pitch. Would love to see him on something with a bit of life in it. Yeah. And Ben Stokes was exceptional. He's looking like Ben Stokes 2019 the more and more he plays cricket.
Absolutely. And we cannot sign off without talking about Jack Leach again. 69.5 overs bowled in the first inning, 3 for 118, 1.68 economy rate. And he bowled a fair few in the second innings as well, didn't he? 25 overs, by far the most, 3 for 36, 13 maidens, 1.44 economy rate again. He's the leading wicket taker in this series, Rob. Wow. After everything we've said about Jack Leach, he's putting a shift in. He's doing a hell of a job. I would have liked to have seen Matt Parkinson get an opportunity because I just want to see Matt Parkinson play Test cricket. Yeah. Whether or not he stays in the team is a different conversation, but at some point, the guy has to be given an opportunity. He's not there just to carry drinks around. But Jack Leach, if I had a cap, I would take it off to him for that effort of 69.5 overs followed by 25. That is a Test match.
Cheers, Jack. 94.5 overs, mate. I think it's the most overs someone's bowled
That's
since
my summer.
19. That's a season.
That's my summer.
Since I think it's 1967. That's the last time someone bowled that many overs in a Test match, and it's quite interesting because Twitter's an emotional place. People react emotionally to things. Who would have thought
Get
it?
Out.
People still want to see Matt Parkinson, irrelevant of how good Jack Leach has been in this series, how much control he's had. He's had zip at times, flying past the outside edge, potentially unlucky at times not to have more wickets. I think he's been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
But I do fall under the category where I want to see Matt Parkinson play a test match, because in England, we don't have leg spinners that have played multiple seasons of county cricket and averaged 20 while taking a stack load of wickets. That's quite unique and quite special.
Yeah, and that's it. It's no disrespect to Jack Leach, and I'm going to commend this setup for showing more faith in Jack Leach than they have done previously. Now, I don't know if Joe Root's just suddenly changed his mind, or if it's Collingwood pushing him a little bit, or if it's just the surfaces that have dictated it. But it seems like Root is more willing to give Leach more opportunity with the ball, and we don't usually see him bowl that much in the first innings. So obviously, it's something's changed, hasn't it? But yeah, I 100% fall in the same category of Jack Leach has been good and he's been steady, but I want to gamble to see if I can find great. And I just wonder if it's worth the gamble with chucking Matt Parker to the ball, getting him in this bowling attack for the third test, and just everything in, push it into the middle of the table, Rob. Let's go and win this game of cricket. The top seven picks itself, keep Mahmood in there, chuck Parkinson in there, get Robinson back in if he's fit over Woakes, because we need that threat, that extra bounce, maybe that extra little bit of something that can take wickets in these conditions. And then you can either go with Parkinson or you go with the extra seamer. But find a way to get Matt Parkinson in this team.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know what... It's at St. George's. I don't know what that pitch is like. I haven't had a chance to go through and look at some stats from the ground, see what seam bowlers and spinners do. But I can't imagine England playing two spinners. I can't see them doing it. So I think we're going to have... Unless, when's the test match? It's the 25th. Is that this
Thursday?
Week?
This week, Thursday. Yeah,
back to back test matches. I still can't see him playing. I was thinking, did they rest Jack Leach? He's just bowled 95 overs in a test match. His arm might have dropped off.
That's a good enough justification, if nothing else.
And that's what Twitter's like. Twitter just wants to see Matt Parkinson because it's Matt Parkinson and he's got such a great reputation and an earned reputation on wickets taken against runs scored against him. So it is hard, and I can see people's frustration. But if it's me and I've got to pick one spinner and Jack Leach is fit, Jack Leach is my guy for this test.
I think you've got to be loyal, haven't you? I don't want to dwell on it anymore, but I think you've got to be loyal with him, and it's good to see that they have been so far. And I do agree with you, but at the same time, we've only got one spinner that has performed in English cricket. We don't have another spinner. So if Jack Leach suddenly decides to, fall over carrying his cup of tea up the stairs and he's out for the summer, we're completely unproven, and there's no one that's had that test at test level yet, other than the Don Besses of this world, etc. And I just think we need somebody else that is a bowler first and foremost, a spin bowler first and foremost. And for that reason, if we get the opportunity, get the guy in. We need to see what he can do. It might be he turns up, I don't want to invoke his name particularly, but Simon Kerrigan. He might turn into a Kerrigan that comes into the senior arena and just doesn't do it and can't do it.
Yeah.
You never know, but at least if you see that shocker, then at least okay, well, we don't need to persevere as urgently with this guy. It could be, what's his name? Mason Crane, similar situation in Australia, too soon.
When do you
give the guy a chance?
You play a guy in the West Indies on these sorts of tracks where he's got some time to bed in because there's runs scored on the board to support him, which is ultra important, which Leach or Bess hasn't really had. And you don't do it against the Australians who are just going to come out and try and smash him from ball one and wreck a career early doors. Yeah,
just give it a go. That's all we're saying. No more Matt Parkinson. So I think we need to wrap up the Kumar Sangakkara podcast.
It's one of the great moments of the podcast. Actually, I'd just gone, and I don't know why I started to pick a fight with everyone in India about Sangakkara being better than Kohli, but I think sometimes in life people just need to hear things, and it's not what you say; it's how you say it. And I don't think I was very good at saying it very delicately.
It'll do for me. So go to the third and final test. We'll get it wrapped up after that test. I think we get a result in this one, Rob. Which way does it go?
I'm going England victory. I think England's controlled the whole test match series so far, whole series so far. They are on control with their batting. They're scoring big runs with the top six. I think England win the test match. What do you think?
I'll take it. I'll go with you on that one. Again, head over heart as well. or heart over head as well. I think we get a win. I think we do. I think the batting has done enough to suggest that we can keep ourselves in the game, which has been our problem over the years recently. And the bowling I'm hoping, a more responsive track. The bowling does enough. Matt Parkinson, man of the match.
Oh yeah, Matt Parkinson, man of the match.
Yeah, righto. Anyway, yeah, that'll do for me. I just want a result. Exciting cricket result. I'm so jealous of everyone that's in West Indies.
I just want to leave us on this bit as we wrap up. So it's end of summer in New Zealand, where I live, and we're maybe in spring. I don't really know how seasons work. I'm only 37 years old. Like we're almost there. And
autumn.
We've got the Women's World Cup over here during like peak Omicron outbreak, which is fine. So there's not many people in the grounds, but it's on TV, which is great. However, global warming, I'm calling it global warming, we experienced the most amount of rainfall ever recorded in New Zealand in an hour yesterday.
Jeez.
With the whole of Auckland flooded within an hour. And there's a Women's World Cup game trying to get on as well. Like, just pack up your gear, go back to the hotel and watch Netflix, mate, because you are not playing cricket today in Auckland.
We'll put that one into the climate change podcast that we cover another day, I reckon.
Yeah, exactly.
But
good stuff. Well, thank you so much for listening, guys. Hope you've enjoyed it. As always, like, review, subscribe if you're here at the end, and we'll be back at the end of the third Test match in a week's time. Till next time.